But then what happened was there had been a girl called Duna who had was going to come up for a place called White Abbey, Joe. I don't know if you
Yes, I
know. And the last few hours before it, our babysitter had let her down. She's got two girls, and she was like, kind of like, I'm really, really sorry. I'm fucking devastated. I really want to see this and that kind of thing. And I was just like, right, well, where are you? Told us, I said, right, we'll come down and show you it tomorrow, like if you can't get out, because we've already said that if we can't get to kind of leave the house or whatever, we'll come down. So in the morning, people who haven't been there, the North of the Island is a really small place, you know what I mean? It's, we drove from Larne to Derry in just about an hour and 10 minutes, and then went down to the Bogside and all that kind of thing, and stopped about there. Then went back to West Belfast, and we're kicking about there, and then went out to White Abbey. So we're in the car, and we're on the sat-nav thing on one of the phones, and the address was bringing up White Abbey, it was bringing up Newton Abbey.
Oh.
And we're kind of like, oh, well, it must be the same one, though. It can't be the two exactly identical things. So, of course, we started to drive into this estate, and as soon as we did, my mate Gary's like, this is Raf Cool.
Second biggest house in the state in Europe, Paul.
Aye. And everybody knows. I'm not breaking any confidence here. The UVF run Raf Cool.
I used to work across the road, Paul. I played five-a-side in the local leisure centre.
Aye. So we're like, for fuck's sake, I says, Gary, you better phone. I says, I'll phone her. And then we were like, no, you know what? My mate Gary comes for alarm. He said, I'll phone her because you might not understand her fucking accent. You know what I mean? So he phoned her, and then eventually we were about 10 minutes away, and we got there. And what a welcome we got. It was Una and her mother Patsy and two daughters, and absolute Celtic through and through their whole life. Born and bred Belfast and stuff, and loads of stories. Mother Patsy was talking about after we won the European Cup, and John Bonner had brought the European Cup film over in 1967 to try and sell Celtic pools and enlist Celtic pools agents, and they said they'd ended up putting them up in the pub they owned and all that kind of thing, and taking them to Derry. It was just magical times because we were captivated by the stories. And then it was like, any food you want, drink, blah 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 blah. And then watched the film, and it was one of the ones where, right, do you want to watch a film now? Right, okay. And we sort of faffed about, got it gone, no problem at all. And once again, I'm in the situation where I'm kind of like, obviously I've seen the film loads of times, but I'm looking at their reactions more than anything. And they sat there and they laughed and blah, blah, blah. And then sort of the last 10 minutes, they just were silent. And I was kind of like, oh, for fuck, maybe they didn't like this at all. And it finished, and fucking Una just got up and she said, I just want to burst into tears. And Mother Patsy was just, I feel so privileged he came down and showed us this, it was fantastic. And I felt really humbled. I was almost in tears myself, Gary would tell you that. And so it was like, that was a real magical moment to be able to do that and see the joy and all that they took, and, the respect that they showed me was fantastic. So Una was like, right, you need to let me take you for a pint and all this kind of thing. I was like, are you sure? And no, you have to. So, I was on top of the world. It was a beautiful scenic setting where they stayed, and right on the shore, and the water's there and all that kind of thing. And I overstroked along the pub, and my mate Gary's going to me, listen, I says, what a reaction that was. I said, I know, it's magic. Like, I said, it's no better feeling. So we just went in the pub, and the football scores were sort of sitting in that, and what do you want to drink? Right, fine, take a Guinness, boom, sat down. And the last Una says to me, she says, that guy sitting there? I said, no. She says, that's Gary Green. I said, who's that like? And he said, Alan Green, the commentator. I said, he goes, that's his brother. I went, oh, right, aye. And we're sitting there talking away, and looked around, and we just tippled right away. Like, this is not a tin pub, like. You know what I mean? At best, it was a Linfield bar, you know what I mean? And it was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. So Gary, my mate, was saying to me, well, I'm glad you enjoyed your afternoon because we're going to get fucking killed tonight, like, you know what I mean? Because he's sitting with a fucking Celtic tracksuit on, And but honestly, the boys in there were looking at us like, who the fuck are these cunts, like,
Brilliant.
So a couple of swift halves in there, shall we say. And back up the road to Larne, and then we went up to the Catholic club in Larne, and then of course we had to get the boat on the Sunday to go to Tynecastle, and it was a 7:30 boat, and of course it was full of the Mankey mob, eh? So Gary was like, listen, he says, we need to watch ourselves here. He says, we'll go to the video lounge. And he said, they'll be away for you. And we ended up watching this bloody film called Admission or something with Tina Fey and Paul Rudd. It was just sitting there.
Sounds classic.
Just to basically hide, But a couple of times I'd went to the toilet and things, and a couple of boys would walk past me saying, all right, and like Sevco fans, and I wasn't sure if they were just thinking I was one of them or they're trying to act smart or whatever.
You were sweating like your man.
Aye, because it was just like, because it was a tiny boat, it was a tiny boat. Like, it wasn't like a big massive thing. And, but it was no hassle, and, it was the quick exit to Uti and Ryan, and then off we go. But it was great. It was great. It was a wee bit. It did feel a wee bit like him going into the Lion's Den. You know what I mean? Because not because it's Larne, because Larne is a lovely place. Although there was something that I wasn't aware of, and I don't know if you guys are aware of, and if you aren't aware of it and you haven't seen this, I urge you or anybody to look at this thing. There was a documentary put on the telly a few weeks ago called We Love Larne. Mm-hmm. And it was basically like this guy had come into Larne and he'd said, I want to just, film everybody and, we'll get a good positive image of Larne. And what he put on the telly was just unbelievable. He made every single person look like a complete moron. It was all cut wrong and badly and all that kind of thing. And focused on this guy who was just continually painting a fence. Another guy that was saying, you're all sinners and things like that, standing on the road trying to get people to fucking toot their horns at him. And it was just, of course, the people who Larne went nuts, and the mayor was telling me he had to deal with all the fallout and all that kind of thing. But, you're going into a situation where the Celtic supporters there, I mean, their concern is, getting tickets for the game, the boats being fine and various things like that. And you're effectively coming at them for the first time. They didn't know who you are, any of your background, nothing, and you're kind of putting yourself on display, and it is quite daunting because there's no hiding place in that kind of respect, and it can always go one way or the other. So to kind of win them over, and then it was kind of summed up on the Saturday night when we went back to the station bar for our last quick one. And this guy come up to me. I didn't even notice him the night before, and he was like, I want to shake your hand. He says, I watched that documentary. He says, it was absolutely brilliant. I said, oh, thanks very much. And he went, I must tell you the story, though. He says, what? He says, my father runs a football team. He says, and we were playing a team in Tigers Bay the day, eh? And I says, I went down to watch them. He says, so we're fucking watching the team. He says, and my mate had phoned me up, and he's down on the touchline. And he's like, oh, what were you doing last night? He says, listen, and by the way, this boy isn't even a Celtic supporter. He says, well, by the way, he says, I was watching this documentary. He says, it was fucking brilliant. He says, what was it about? He's like, it was basically saying like the Bank of Scotland were propelling Rangers for all these years and that kind of thing, and they'd been cheating the whole time. And he says, honest to God, he says, you should have seen the fucking looks I was getting for the crowd around me when I started relaying all this fucking documentary stuff. Eh? So I was like, brilliant. So when he left, Gary was like, he says, I tell you something. He says, that's something I never thought I'd see. I said, what? He says, see that boy there? I said, aye. He says, he's one of the biggest wind-up merchants in Larne. He says, he's never got a good word to say about anybody. So if he's giving you praise, it's something else. And I was like, fucking aye, magic. But no, it was a fantastic trip. Huge kudos to Gary Bergen and Martin Wilson, the mayor, and Billy and Brian and Vinny and all the guys down there that always treat me well there. And I would urge anybody, despite what you think, Larne's not as bad as what you think.
There you go. That sounds brilliant, Paul. I mean, obviously, you're having these experiences. You must just pinch yourself sometimes and be like, is this shit real? Aye,
it's a bit like that, Joe, I must admit. I mean, it's like when I went there last year for the boot launch, there's like 25, 30 people there. I was like, Christ, that's fantastic, 25, 30 people there. And then as soon as we walked in, Gary just went, Jesus Christ. And I said, what is it? And he went, fucking, this is packed. And I was like, well, it is a Friday night. He goes, this bar's never packed on a Friday night. And the owner said that to me. He says, you added 75 people to our fucking, takings last night, like, with this film. I was like, oh, magic, like, so it's good, you know what I mean? Because I've always said, like, it's not about the number of people that go. I mean, obviously, the more the merrier, and, you want as many people to turn up. But it doesn't matter if half that turn up, 10 people, 5 people, and I'll show it anybody who wants to go and see it. But it's great to get that reaction because you can't prepare yourself for it. There's nothing you can do regarding it. It's a bit like a fucking penalty shoot. You've just got to fucking roll the dice and get in there. And thankfully, it kind of worked out well. So it's onwards to Dublin this Saturday.
Yeah, so tell us about that one then, Dublin. I've been going to this one. I've decided now because fuck how late I'm working on Friday night. I'm going to get up and go and watch the game.
Well, basically, this is the guy we talked about off air, Kieran. I'd spoken to him after the Dublin GA game in the summer. And we talked about, gave him the hard sell about the film, blah, 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 shown in Dublin. He was like, well, and he's been on board the whole time. So the problem at that point was at that time, the CSC, the Neve Padraig was kind of never had a location because they were moving for Quins. They wanted somewhere near Central, etc. And he said, look, as soon as we get a location, we're doing it. So come back, we're doing the Badass Cafe, Temple Bar. I said, perfect. I know, I've never been in it, but I know exactly where it is. So what the scenario is going to be there is we go to watch the Motherwell game, obviously. I think it's a 12:30 kickoff. Quick break, and then we'll show the film after that, and then I'll introduce it, and then I'll do a Q&A after it, and then I think they've got a singer. I'm not 100% sure who it's going to be. Tommy Skelly was mentioned, who wrote Go On Home, somebody like that. But, anybody in Dublin who wants to come, obviously yourself, Joe, just come along. I don't think there's a cover charge on the door, but I'm pretty sure Kieran Sees the Bar was going to cover it. So, it's going to be in the private room up the stairs and stuff. So come along, and I will have some books to sign, which will be selling on the cheap as I did at this charity screening. So, looking forward to it. Always love being in Dublin, and this will be the exception.
Brilliant. Can't wait, Paul. I really cannot wait. Because I'll tell you what happened to me on Sunday night. I was on work, my new job, and before I left, I met Brian from the St. Lawrence CSC, friend of Harper's. And I've only met Brian maybe 5-6 times. And I spotted him, was chatting away to him. And first thing out of his mouth was, you up for the film? I was like, I'm definitely going to the film. I'm sure I'm playing on it. He's like, no problem. He says, the reviews I've heard have been amazing. I was like, me too. So word spreading fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I said at the premiere that, it was now due to the people to be my kind of PR work if they wanted to be. And that really has what's happened. I mean, the book sales because there was a demand for the book to go back on sale way back when. The book sales have been absolutely phenomenal. Already propelled it to the #1 sports book in independent publishing. So, it's like fantastic. And I mean, that's the whole point, was to build momentum, to build a momentum through this whole thing. And even now, I mean, we're basically at the stage with the tour where December's full, January's full, February's full, March is almost full, April's full, and we've only got a few dates left in May. So, it is kind of building up and stuff like that. And I think that's due to the film. I made a decision about a month ago, Joe, where I'm not going to talk about the content of the book or the story or, because the film speaks for itself. And it's the film that's the attraction. I mean, I can talk and answer questions all day, but it's the film that are people are attraction, and that was done to Ja and the people who done that. I just provided the content. So, that's what's going to sell. And I say I think anybody who's in Lamb on Friday will know that was as tough a crowd as I probably will face. And it won them over, and that was a victory, and hopefully it'll continue. And because the support has been absolutely phenomenal every single day, people getting in touch, and even met guys with Big John McGrady come up, spoke to him, can I get my kids in? No problem. Jackie Callahan came up from Belfast. Anything you need. I mean, these guys, you can tell they're one of your own. You know what I mean? As soon as you meet them, it's just like, fantastic. Davy Mooney and that, just absolutely brilliant. They couldn't do any more for you. And that's, what it's all about, and who I do these things for,
Yeah. See, the thing is, Paul, you put yourself under a bit of pressure because after the premiere, all it was amazing. It was amazing, but it actually was amazing. We weren't just blowing smoke up your arse. So you haven't really got anything to worry about because the film takes care of itself. There is nobody going to turn up for that's not going to like it. If you're Celtic minded, if you're a Celtic supporter and you turn up to watch that film and it doesn't hit you emotionally, then I'd like to question your Celtic credentials. Do you know what I mean? Because it can't fail to hit the spot as far as I'm concerned.
Aye, and I think the difference, last year I was around a few places doing book launches and that is relying on me performing,
Aye.
Being up to speed and on the money and in a good enough mood and all that sort of thing. That's not really the issue now at all. You know what I mean? The issue is the film. that's why it takes 8 months to make the fucking thing, because it can be that good. Whereas, with other things, it's like, and something might be wrong, but I'd say this film, I think the job that they'd done, Ja and Tabacula, the company, that was unbelievable, because they made it the right length, they hit the right notes,